Welcome to the Handed Down Kitchen, where we bring antique recipes out of the past and back into the kitchen. Following on from last Sunday's video, today we'll be carrying on with our short introductions to our collection of antique and vintage cookbooks. As you might already know, we use 10 books altogether for our recipes, one Victorian cookbook and then one per decade from 1900 to 1990. In our last video we showed you our Victorian, Edwardian and World War I cookbooks, and now we're going to show you our 3 interwar and Second World War cookbooks that were published in the 1920s, 1930s and 1940s. In the coming weeks we'll also be publishing videos that focus on each of our cookbooks in more detail, so watch out for those. But picking up from where we left off, let's take a look at our 1920s cookbook. This is our copy of the Best Way Cookery gift book, which was published in 1928. It's the third edition of a series of cookbooks by the offices of the Best Way series, which published magazines, leaflets, books and patterns for all sorts of things from cookery to cross-stitch. At the date of this video, the book is 92 years old. In the year it was published, Britain's reigning monarch was still King George V, and the Prime Minister is now the Conservative Stanley Baldwin. This book has 158 pages and a lot of pictures in it, a black and white photograph for almost every recipe and a few colour plate pages too. The recipes we've already tried and filmed from this book are an iced cherry cake, pumpkin pie and Christmas log cake. There's a good mix of simple and more complicated recipes, and you can tell from this one that the economic depression doesn't really seem to have hit the country yet. As with all of our books, we'll tell you more about this one later in our video to follow that will focus solely on this book. So let's move on to our 1930s cookbook. This is our copy of Cookery Illustrated and Household Management. It's by Elizabeth Craig and was published in 1936, and it's by far the thickest book in our collection. We can't see us getting through even a tenth of these recipes anytime soon. And as you can see here, there are a few colour pictures like this one, which shows an ideal nursery breakfast of fruit, carrots and milk. There are also a few black and white photos throughout. The recipes are quite simple, not as elaborate or using as many ingredients as those in the preceding cookbooks, and there's a big chapter on ways to use leftovers, which you would expect as the recession following the Wall Street crash of 1929 had really set in by now. In the year this book was published, King George V died, and King Edward III ascended to the throne, but before the end of the year, King Edward made the decision to abdicate, and his younger brother became Britain's reigning monarch, King George VI. And the Prime Minister is again the Conservative Stanley Baldwin. At the date of this video, this book is 85 years old, and the recipes we've already tried and filmed from this book are roast neck of lamb with roast potatoes, stewed cucumber and maitre d' hotel sauce, gooseberry jam, sausage rolls, and the Leap Year, Clover Club and Bronx cocktails. This book has 760 pages and there really is so much in it. Not only recipes for tips on cocktail making, guidance on diets for children to the elderly, full menus even, not to mention a massive list of kitchen equipment it suggests that we should aspire to have. So those were our 2 interwar cookbooks. Let's fast forward another 7 years to our 1940s or Second World War cookbook. This is the Manual of Modern Cookery. This book is by V.H. Mottram and Jessie Lindsay for the University of London Press and is the 7th edition of this book. It was published in 1943, right in the middle of the Second World War, and from the publisher's wartime address in Kent, which we'll tell you more about in our video on this book. The introduction to this one is quite scientific, focusing on nutrition and describing the structure of fats, proteins and vitamins. In fact, we think it's the first time that any of our books mention vitamins. When it was published, Britain's reigning monarch was still George VI, and the Prime Minister was the Conservative Winston Churchill. It has 316 pages and no pictures of the recipes. It's all writing other than a few diagrams in the introduction. The recipes we've already tried and filmed from this book are steamed orange pudding, trifle, and marshmallows. At the date of this video, this book is 78 years old, and apart from a few, all of the recipes are very simple, using only a handful of ingredients you could obtain while rationing was in force. And that's it for now. Those were our interwar and Second World War era cookbooks. Next time we'll be showing you the babies of the bunch, our 4 cookbooks that were published in the post-war period and second half of the 20th century. We hope you enjoyed this video. If so, please leave us a like, and if you'd like to hear more about our collection of old cookbooks and watch us recreate the antique recipes from them, be sure to subscribe to our channel.